Today is Thursday, November the 10th, 2016, and there's been a lot of reaction to Donald Trump becoming the 45th president of the US of A. It's been riots all over the country in these so-called liberal places.
We can't just do rallies. We have to fight back. There will be casualties on both sides.
There's been all kind of stuff at college campuses where people got to get grievance counselors and therapy animals and all kind of stuff.
Well, colleges across the country trying to console millennials having temper tantrums after Donald Trump's historic victory. They are canceling tests, giving out free hot chocolate, offering therapy dogs, and free passes to skip class to those students who are just so upset.
But the one thing I want to focus on in this video here is Mr. Van Jones and his reaction immediately after the decision was announced. Now, many of you have asked me to do this story, and I see there's a lot of interest about it online. And I had a different video that I included that story in, but I kind of scrapped that video. I didn't like the way it come out. So on this one, I really want to focus on that. Now, before I continue, before I really get into my teardown of Mr. Van Jones and his reaction, what I want to do right now is play it for you. I want you to see everything in context. This is right after Trump has become the president, and this is his reaction to it. So go ahead and roll it.
People have talked about a miracle. I'm hearing about a nightmare. It's hard to be a parent tonight for a lot of us. You tell your kids, don't be a bully. You tell your kids, don't be a bigot. You tell your kids, do your homework and be prepared. And then you have this outcome, and you have people putting children to bed tonight, and they're afraid of breakfast. They're afraid of, how do I explain this to my children? I have Muslim friends who are texting me tonight saying, should I leave the country? I have families of immigrants that are terrified tonight. This was many things. This was a rebellion against the elites. True, it was a complete reinvention of politics and polls, it's true. But it was also something else. We've talked about race. I mean, we've talked about everything but race tonight. We've talked about income. We've talked about class. We've talked about region. We haven't talked about race. This was a white-lash. This was a white-lash against a changing country. It was a white-lash against a black president in part. And that's the part where the pain comes. And Donald Trump has a responsibility tonight to come out and reassure people that he is going to be the president of all the people who he insulted and offended and brushed aside. Yeah, when you say, you want to take your country back, you got a lot of people who feel that we're not represented well either. But we don't want to feel that someone has been elected by throwing away some of us to appeal more deeply to others. So this is a deeply painful moment tonight. I know it's not just about race. There's more going on than that. But race is here, too. We got to talk about it.
All right. So you're able to see how he reacted. You're able to see his body language. You're able to hear his voice. Now, what I want to do is express how embarrassed I am to be a black man and have Van Jones be on TV speaking as a black man, making all of us look bad. You see, this is just reinforcing stereotypes about black men. We're emotional. We can't control our emotions, and our emotions get us in trouble in many different ways. When we get pulled over by the police, we don't want to, cooperate with what's going on. We want to just jump straight to the top of our emotions rather than just being calm and as men handling it as men, right? And then on the opposite spectrum, you got guys that are just too weak and can't just function in daily life, right? You got a lot of homosexuality. I'm not somebody that's against homosexuals, but at a certain point, somebody's got to be the man, right? Because at the end of the day, if you have feminine energy and masculine energy, and if the masculine energy is not in check, if it's too low or too high, then at a certain point, you can't have society function that way. All men must be in control of their emotions. You must be a master of your emotion if you're a man. And Van Jones doing this is pretty embarrassing just on the strength of that he was not able to keep his emotions in check. But I could be wrong about that. Maybe my whole thing I just said was incorrect, because you know what? Van Jones is a TV pundit, so he may just be an actor, right? I mean, I'm not sure about his record before becoming on TV, but he may be an actor. He may be classically trained. I don't know. This could have been an Oscar-winning performance, just, grandstanding to a wider audience. because it comes off like he hates white people, even though he's married to a white woman. So I'm not sure how you're going to hate white folks and at the same time be married to a white woman and have black children. But I digress. My whole point is that he could just be putting on the whole big ruse. However, this is the way a lot of black people feel. I've been seeing this all over social media. You know, all kind of people are depressed and upset, and the men, it's no excuse for it. The women, I understand, because women are going to be naturally more emotional anyway, and that's fine. But the men is no excuse. We got to be the solid rock. We got to be the foundation upon which the women are able to rely upon. We can't be weak and crying and everything else. Even if it would have gone the opposite way for me, even if Hillary would have won, you're not gonna see me on TV crying about it. You know, I'm gonna say, hey, it's unfortunate, but you know what? We got to get right back to work and make sure that she does not take over the whole country. That should be their attitude on the left, rather than getting on TV and crying. I was really embarrassed. And then the whole thing about racism, talking about it as a white-lash, it doesn't make any sense. Shout out to my man Stephen Crowder, who did an excellent teardown, like I said in the previous video about the Young Turks, where they try to say the same thing about, oh, it's about racism and Donald Trump supporters are racist. No, it don't got nothing to do with it, because the reality is that majority of white people voted for Mr. Barack Hussein Obama twice and put him in office. And it's the same thing here with Donald Trump. And many of those same people that voted for Mr. Obama 2 times voted for Trump. I was one of them. I voted for Obama in 2008. Now I voted for Trump in 2016. Does it make me a racist? Am I a self-hater? Am I Uncle Tom or a coon or a sellout or some other retarded word you want to throw my direction? Does that what it make? I mean, I voted on the issues that I saw important. You know, I voted against a lot of what Hillary Clinton was supporting. Now, as far as Trump, what I support the Second Amendment. I support a sovereign state of the United States of America. I support trade deals that make sense. I support not being an interventionist overseas. I support life. You know, I support a lot of the Christian values, even though I'm not even really a Christian. I support a lot of what Donald Trump brings. I do not support being an interventionist overseas like what Hillary Clinton wants to do. I do not support a no-fly zone over Syria, which could start World War III if Russia or China or somebody else violates it. I do not support restricting guns. I do not support late-term abortions. I do not support Hillary Clinton's corruption, the pay for play. I do not support her raping the country of Haiti. I do not support her rapist husband. I do not support a lot of what Hillary Clinton brings to the table. That's why I voted for Donald Trump. Simple as that. If Trump was a Democrat, I'd still vote for him if he had the same values. It doesn't even really matter. That's the truth. So for you to get on TV and say it's about a white-lash, it ain't got nothing to do with it. And the reality is, white people are the majority of the country. People acting like they're just some kind of plague or some kind of phantom menace. It's like, look, they're the ones that are the majority. So you can't just say, oh, white people are the problem. White people are the majority of the country. I mean, it is what it is. How you going to say that they're the problem? It makes no sense. And the reality is, we got to look at people that are actually out there committing crime and doing a lot of these damaging things to the actual country. Look at what's going on out there in these college campuses and these so-called peaceful protests, which ain't nothing but paid riots by Mr. George Soros, right? That's the real problem, not white people in general. If you want to just say it was a white-lash, you're being racist yourself. You're being a bigot yourself, just trying to label white people with one broad brush. That ain't the right thing to do, because at the same time, when you say that, you say that you don't want them to do the same thing to you. You say, oh, look at me as a man. Don't look at me because I'm an African American or whatever. But in the same breath, you'll say to white people, oh, it's because of you that the country is failing this, that, and the third. It's stupid. So I wanted to get it off my chest. Really, you know, Van Jones, you had to be ashamed of yourself. You really embarrassed me as a black man. And you want to talk about white people being so evil, this, that, and the third, how it's a white-lash against Barack Obama. Ain't got nothing to do with it, because many of them same people that you're talking about voted for Obama 2 times and they did not get anything as a result, right? That's just what it is. And anybody else want to talk about white folks and all this and that? Look, you got to get rid of the white man on the brain disease. It's really just ridiculous. I feel like I've said in previous videos, I feel like people that say that are feeling inferior to white people. They don't feel like they are able to measure up. It's a personal issue that you get on the inside. It has nothing to do with any kind of real racism. So what do you think? Do you think that Van Jones was correct in his assertion about this so-called the election being a so-called white-lash against Mr. Barack Hussein Obama? Or do you think he was incorrect? Do you think he's just a racist? Or is he like a prima donna, an actor, or being real dramatic to try and appeal to his base that want him to say those kind of things? Or is it a combination of all the above? Whatever your comments are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.